Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Brielle. In today's vlog, we are finishing a rewrite. Draft 3, the draft of my book that is going to be going to my beta readers. If you don't know, I'm working on a dystopian fantasy book, oppressive government, journey book. The love interest is the ruler's son. Really cute, wholesome romance. I'm so pleased with how the vibes of this book have evolved. And I am in the home stretch. If you saw my last video, I've been trying to get to the finish line of this book and it has been a journey, but we're going to finally get there in this video. Today is currently Sunday, November 16th. I spent the morning writing with Alyssa and Andy on Discord. I was working on chapter 60, which is now the second to last chapter. I changed the chapter split a little bit and I have just about 1,000 words, I think, down, 1,100 words down in the scene so far. The scene that I was working on this morning, I'm so happy with how it's turning out. I'm writing kind of like the last significant romance moment between our love interests. And it's taking a little bit of finessing because romantic moments in general for me, it's such a fine line in order to get me on board for what's happening on the page. So anyway, it obviously takes a little bit of finessing, but I'm really happy with how this scene is turning out, where our characters are at emotionally. And obviously one of the main goals for this sort of talking debrief after the climactic action of the book is to set out some of the problems that still need to be fixed in book 2. What are our conflicts going to be in book 2 since this is a duology? So I tried to lay some groundwork for that. A lot of this stuff in terms of am I establishing enough? How much do we need to know going into book 2? I'm really hoping to get pulse checks from beta readers to help me decide exactly what needs to be in this scene. But for now, I'm pretty happy with how it's flowing and the kind of balance between the more sweet romantic side of the scene and then the more logistical plot side of the scene. So we are vibing. We are vibing. So much of Act 3 so far has felt like a really intense process. A lot of the scenes did not come out right on a first try and I had to keep messing with them, rejigging them, doing some Frankensteining. And this scene, it felt like came out pretty, I don't want to say easily because it's never easy really, but it came out a lot smoother and with a lot less resistance. So that was just really nice and refreshing, honestly, because I was able to get those 1,000 words of the scene down without much strife. And I honestly think something that made a big difference was I did spend an entire, not even that long, 15 to 30 minutes solely brainstorming ideas for the scene before I even tried to write it. And that gave me good stuff to work off of, you know? I changed some of the plotting of this ending with help from my friend Alyssa because I've never really executed an ending before. I mean, obviously I did in draft 1 and draft 2, but I don't think I got it right, you know? So what I had in my outline going into Act 3 was pretty similar to what was in the previous draft of the book. And I just started kind of suspecting that maybe it wasn't quite right or as good as it could be. So I called up Alyssa and I was I need to just talk through this ending with you. And we just went back and forth and I explained what I had planned for the ending and why I thought it wasn't the best move. In my ending in draft 1, draft 2, the original version, I was just giving us too much. I was establishing too much for book 2 and not saving enough of that new normal for book 2. I was bringing us to the whole location we're going to spend book 2 in. I was showing us the ropes of it. It felt too tied up with a bow and we just got too much of what the vibes of book 2 are gonna be when really we need to just be getting crumbs to carry us into book 2. So I'm scaling back a ton on that and actually kind of, in my opinion, cutting down the material and the amount of stuff somewhat substantially. And I'm feeling pretty good about that choice. I think it is the right move. I think this ending is just gonna feel a lot snappier. And I think it's better. It's gonna get us out of the book faster. Even though self-indulgently, I like lingering in the end of things, realistically, we wanna be kind of wrapping things up fast, you know? That's general plot advice for the end of a book, right? So it's now 1:30, so I spent several hours this morning writing. I'm about to go thrifting actually with a friend of mine. We're going thrifting in Ballard, which is a neighborhood of Seattle that I've only explored very lightly. We're gonna go thrifting, grab lunch. Also, I'm sorry if you've been hearing Smog wrestling my bearded dragon in the back. He's chill, he's just making some ruckus. I'm feeling great. I've been really trying not to do any projecting when I'll finish the draft. I'm really trying to cut myself off because if you saw my last video, it was such a mental battle and I'm just really trying to release all of that. So I'm just gonna stay focused on the scene we're working on and see what happens.
while. No one can change time. How could I gotta know where you're at. The mirrors don't talk back. Leave it blank.
Something kind of fun to update you guys on. You may have heard me mention in a recent vlog that I was going to be attending the How to Get a Publishing Deal conference over on Readsy Learning. I'm not someone who's pursuing traditional publishing, but I do find it really fascinating. You know, I have friends pursuing traditional publishing, and so I like to keep myself educated. And I did get to attend that and wanted to share my thoughts. Thank you to Readsy Learning for sponsoring this video. Basically, this conference included discussions with different editors and agents, basically people who had professional experience in the traditional publishing space, just kind of sharing their publishing knowledge with you. I really enjoyed especially the panel discussion with agents where they talked a little bit more about, you know, what an agent does for a writer, and I really liked that they emphasized the role of an agent as sort of like a guiding force and a relationship for an author to kind of lean on. The agents that were in the panel were talking a lot about how they really feel like they're working for their authors instead of the other way around. I just thought it was really cool to hear the perspectives of these professionals. I love that Readsy Learning does things like this. I think especially if you are someone who's like newer to the writer or publishing space, and you're also someone who really likes information to be kind of like gathered for you, put into a really like clean, easy to understand way. I feel like Readsy is so great at that. They really like distill these sort of overwhelming topics into something that's much more approachable. So I would definitely recommend checking out Readsy Learning. This is one of many events that they do throughout the year. And if you're interested in attending future events, conferences, workshops, they actually have an annual membership that will get you access to all of those things. It's $249 for a 12-month membership. Link will be in the description if you want to experience a cool conference like this for yourself in the future. And thank you again to Readsy Learning for sponsoring this video and for giving me access to the conference. And let's get back into the vlog. It's currently 1 in the morning. I got home from thrifting with my friend, super fun. I actually tried to go to bed at like 10 p.m. because I was exhausted. It was like I felt too tired to do anything, and I was reading a little bit. I was reading The Echo of Precious Things, and then I was just feeling inspired, and I was like, you know what? I couldn't tell you the last time I just like pulled my laptop into bed and just like saw what happened, and it just sounded so cozy to just like write a little bit. So I did that, and now we have officially entered into chapter 61, the final chapter of the book, which is crazy. Chapter 60 is definitely not finished. That was the one that I was working on this morning. I would say like 75, maybe even more % of it is down. It's really just like flow and such now that I want to work on, because the scene there's just a lot of ground to cover in this scene, it feels like, and multiple things I want to hit on. It's a pretty long conversation. I have a feeling when it's said and done, it'll be almost 2K words, which isn't like ridiculous, but it's on the longer side for just like one conversation, basically. So yeah, I'm trying to do a lot with it, romance-wise, setup-wise, so it's definitely just... I don't know. I felt like it came out pretty easily earlier this morning, but then when I reviewed it this evening, I just felt like it wasn't quite there. Like, I like what I have, but it just needs to be like really tied together and like finessed, if that makes sense. Like, the material's there and it has good bones. It just needs a little bit more work, which is pretty normal for me. Like, it's rare that I draft a scene and it doesn't need to be finessed, you know? Like, a lot of times, because I edit as I go, basically, I'll like get an initial pass down for a scene, and there's usually at least potential there by the time I get it down, but it probably still needs to be like molded, you know? I did write the last line, or what I have planned for the last line. So this is how I've been writing a lot of scenes, because I have like pretty extensive notes, especially at this stage in the book. I'll like transfer over all the notes I have, and a lot of times my notes will include like specific lines of dialogue or pieces of scenes, and then it's a matter of like taking these pieces and building the scene around it, which I think is also why sometimes my scenes take a bit of finessing, because it's like I'll have pieces but I don't have every transition, you know what I mean? Like chapter 60, this conversation, I think part of the reason it was feeling difficult to turn into something cohesive is because when I start, I have this piece from the beginning of the scene, this piece from the middle, this piece from the end, and I have to like make it all feel natural, you know? That's just kind of how ideas come to me, is non-linearly sometimes, at least when I'm starting with a scene, and then I kind of find the flow and the shape. Anyway, this ended up being a longer update than I was expecting. Basically, I say all that to say I ended up pulling my laptop into the bed. We've entered into the final scene, and I'm glad that I broke that seal, because now I think I won't feel as intimidated to work on it now that I've sunk my teeth into that scene. So this is pretty exciting. We really are just going to be working in fleshing out and finessing these last 2 chapters, and then the book is going to be like ready, which is so crazy. I can't believe like something is on the page for the final chapter. Like, that feels huge. So anyway, it was really kind of fun to do a little bit of late night writing. I think we're going to check back in tomorrow, or I guess later today, which will be Monday, because I do plan to write tomorrow. Not sure how much. I do have a client project that I need to get a lot of work done on towards the beginning of this week, because I have a deadline. So that's definitely going to be like the priority for the next 2 days, but I do still want to sneak in some writing sessions, especially since we are so close, and every session at this point, every sprint is going to be bringing us one step closer, and there aren't that many steps left. So each step closer is a big deal at this point. Also, if you're curious what our current word count is sitting at, hold on, there's like some notes in this scene. Let me see if I can delete them real quick. I don't think I need any of these anymore. My outline at this point has become, there's pieces of it that are still relevant and helpful, but quite a bit of it has become outdated. Just because naturally, as I've written this book, things have evolved. Things that I thought would be discussed in this chapter just don't make sense anymore. So it's so interesting. I feel like towards the beginning of this book, I was sticking to the outline so precisely. And by this point, enough has changed in the rewrite process that quite a bit of it is irrelevant, and I have to be just able to disregard it, you know? Our current word count is 108,877. And since the final scene is like not even halfway written, I think it's safe to say that we'll break 110K, which is interesting. Even like a week ago, I did not think that was going to be the case. And I think a lot of these, you know, later chapters have just been a bit bigger than I was expecting, which has been interesting. I'm not mad about it. I mean, initially, when I was starting the draft, I was estimating like 115K. So it actually looks like we're going to be pretty close to that. Definitely not getting up to 115. There's no way I have 5K more words in this book. We're definitely going to break 110, which will be kind of cool. Definitely a sizable draft. Okay, I'm going to go to bed since it's 1 in. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed this late night casual update. Hello, happy Monday. We are having an incredibly cozy day. I've been homebodying today. I was dealing with a lot of anxiety last night into this morning. I don't know what was up with that, but I decided that in order to try and manage it, I was going to like have a really chill, cozy vibes day. And I do think it's doing the trick. Did some yoga this morning, which probably also helped. And I'm not gonna have any caffeine until I feel more chill. I do really want to go get a Starbucks drink. If I do that, maybe I'll get a decaf or a small matcha. But anyway, on a more relevant note, last night's late night writing session was so fun. I really enjoyed writing from bed. I could not tell you the last time that I've done that. So that was really fun. And then I just wrote a little bit with Andy, cozied up on the couch, actually finished out chapter 60. And by finished out, I mean I have a full draft of the entire scope of the scene. None of these like last few chapters are locked yet. I still intend to go back and edit them. This scene was so tricky. It was like the more substantial romantic moment of the resolution, and naturally it was really tricky because I don't know, just writing romantic moments in general, when it works, it's so satisfying and I'm like kicking my feet. But it's so embarrassing to try to write. And sometimes I'm really just like struggling my way through it, because with any kind of writing, at least with my writing process, I have to do a little bit of trial and error to get to the good stuff, if you will. And the same is true for the romantic moments. It's just a much more embarrassing process to get there because, I don't know, to me, nothing hurts more on a soul level than writing down a rough version of a romantic moment. It's just like so painful. But anyway, we've got it to a place now where I'm pretty happy with the scene overall. I think I talked last night about how I was struggling with certain flow and transitional things. Still kind of the case, though I think I improved it today with the work that I did on it, and I think it's getting closer in terms of being cohesive. This is definitely the type of scene that I'm excited to get beta feedback on, because I don't exactly know what the reader will be looking for from this scene, especially because it's been a minute since I did a read through. And by a minute, I mean like 2 weeks, which for a lot of people is nothing. But for me, the read through girly, I already feel like I've lost a sense of context from the earlier parts of the book. So I don't really know how satisfying this is in terms of the overall book, if that makes sense. On a scene level, I might be happy with it, but I don't feel like I have fresh enough context to tell if it's doing everything it needs to do on a wider plot level. And at this stage in the game, I don't feel like that's something I can realistically give myself. So I'm just gonna kind of wait and see what betas think of it and what I think when I do my reread too, of course, at the end of my break that I'm gonna be taking while the book is with betas. Anyway, so that's chapter 59. We're putting a wrap on it for now, in the sense that it is fully drafted, sitting around 1,800 words in its current iteration, and the vast majority of that is just a conversational moment between our leads, though there is, of course, a little bit of hijinks at the very end, which is going to take us into the final scene of the book, which I'm excited to write. It's a very different vibe in the sense that it's a lot punchier, hopefully funnier. We're meeting some very vibrant side characters. One of the things that I was playing with last night in the wee hours of the evening was how I was going to describe these side characters, what their voice was going to kind of be in this new iteration, and I was really happy with what I was coming up with. They kind of, I feel like, fulfill a personality type that we haven't really encountered. Specifically, their leader, Ainsley, is very unfiltered, honest, confrontational, kind of brash. And we don't really have another character that's like that, at least not another, like, prominent character that's like that. Everyone else is much softer, so his entrance onto the page kind of feels like a storm rolling in, and it's kind of fun. He's like really not afraid to call it like he sees it, and I'm excited for him as a character. I remember when I was drafting book 2 back in November, even though all of that is going to be scrapped, I did really like how Ainsley was coming out on the page. I thought he was such a fascinating character, so I'm excited to be writing his introduction fresh. Anyway, I don't know if we're gonna write anymore today because I do really need to get some other work done, so I'm probably gonna try to switch gears for the rest of the day / evening. So yeah, that's the Monday update. Our total word count has surpassed 109K now. Yeah, I mean, that's nuts. Good morning, cutie. What's up? We're feeding Smog his breakfast, his little soy bites that he has. I'm on Smog feeding duty this week, and sometimes he is not the best about eating consistently, but he's been eating his breakfast consistently, which is such a slay. He also gets some dried crickets, but I'll so kindly spare you from having to watch that, so I'll see you in a second. Good morning, guys. Happy... what day is it? Wednesday. It's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Guys, I was up so late last night. I'm sorry if my background is messy. I haven't cleaned my apartment. I was up so late last night that I had a phone call with Alyssa in the books. She's in the central time zone and I'm in the Pacific time zone, okay? So there's 2 hours in between us. I had a phone call with her when I had not yet gone to sleep, and she had already woken up for the day, which is also crazy because we were FaceTiming earlier in the day, like doing sprints together before she went to sleep. Then she had a full night's sleep and I was still working when she woke up. Crazy. I was up really late. It was like 3:30 my time, 5:30 her time that we talked on the phone. I was finishing out a client project, and one of the things I pride myself on when it comes to my client projects is I feel like I'm very thorough. So I just wanted to make sure all my I's were dotted, all my T's were crossed, and sometimes that keeps me up into the wee hours a little bit, and that's okay. But anyway, so needless to say, I had a bit of a weird night in that sense. If you were the client that I just worked with, your manuscript was such a joy, truly, to work on. Thank you so much for working with me. Obviously, I won't go into any details because of client confidentiality and all of that, but this manuscript was so fun. The characters were so good. I had a really great time working on it, and I was so excited to give my thoughts. So yeah, that was great, and I'm super satisfied now that we've finished that out. That was a huge win. Now it's Wednesday, and I don't have have an actively pressing deadline right now. So I'm gonna take today to get back to writing. I didn't write yesterday. I wanted to make sure that I picked up the camera because we are working on the last scene. And while I don't want to make any crazy statements, there is of course a chance that something could happen today. We're not gonna say anything specific, but something could happen. If my brain is even turning on. I mean, listen, I did not get enough sleep. It's also the first day of my period. So if it's just not going well today, I will not hesitate to be like, that's chill. Let's just have like a rest and recovery themed day. Or I could like do some light administrative tasks, maybe some planning. You know what I mean? The stakes and pressure are low. Like, I'm not doing a whole like, this needs to be a really serious lock-in song and dance. If it goes well, sure. But there's like no pressure on it. So anyway, yeah, that's the vibe. I also do definitely want to like reset things. Like, my apartment is a total disaster. I need to like clean things. Total disaster is a bit of an exaggeration. I did do like a proper full clean on Monday. So things have only built up for like one day. It's not like a week's worth of mess, you know what I mean? But I still would like to tidy things up and all that. So that will also definitely be a focus of today, but I'm glad that I at least like put myself together this morning, you know, did my makeup, put jewelry on so that I can feel like an active functioning human in society, even if internally I'm like, what is time? What is space? Is this even the start of a new day? Like, my brain is like, what is happening? Thankfully, I don't feel like sick or anything. Normally, if I don't get enough sleep, like, I'm not well. But we've pulled 2 late nights with minimal sleep already this week by accident. Like, Monday was not intentional at all. Like, these have been later nights than I'm used to. I'm a bit of a night owl, but when I say I'm a night owl, I mean going to bed at like 12 or 1 maybe, not like super, super late. So I'm surprised that my body has not like rebelled. Hopefully I'm not jinxing it. Watch my next clip be like, I'm sick. Girl, let's not manifest that. Okay, I'll talk to you after I write. It's very dark in here, so this update will be short, but I kind of thought today that I would continue working on drafting the final scene of the book. But because I didn't write yesterday, I was like, oh, as my warm-up, like, I'll work on locking some of the earlier Act 3 scenes. If you don't know, I talked about this in my last video. I don't know if I talked about it yet in this one, but I use this locking method. I've done this in the past, and I'm doing it with this draft, where when a scene is like done for this draft, in this case, when it's like beta reader ready, I will lock it, aka make the chapter title green and bolded so I know that I'm done touching it for this draft. Obviously, this is a rewrite, so I'll, you know, draft the scenes, but then I am going to edit them so that they're in good shape when I hand them off to betas. My goal in terms of like the locked level, like, I want to be proud of the scene. I would like to actually like the scenes by the time I lock them. So anyway, I was like, oh, I'll just lock some of the Act 3 scenes as a warm-up. There are 6 chapters left in Act 3 that I have not officially locked, that I was still planning to edit. And I have been battling one chapter all day. I've been like facing off with chapter 57, which is Varen's like Dark Knight / break into 3, more so his break into 3. His Dark Knight kind of started in his previous POV chapter. I've just been wrestling with it. I was just still not fully happy with it, and it was really hurting my brain. I still don't know if it's quite there, but I do think it's stronger than it was when I started working on it today. So that's a win. But wow, it has given me a run for my money today. But you know what? It is what it is. When it comes to the locking, it's like sometimes one chapter will take forever to lock, and then there will be chapters that are like literally ready to go, and I tweak either nothing or barely nothing. So just because this chapter is requiring this level of intensive care doesn't mean that the next few are. So I'm still kind of holding out hope that by the time I go to sleep tonight, I can at least have locked a few chapters so it feels like a little bit more substantial progress. But we'll just kind of see what the manuscript needs. It is what it is. I'm going to go enjoy my cinnamon raisin bagel and hopefully lock some chapters, because I haven't even locked one yet today, which is a bit of a bummer. Okay. Girl. Okay, another late night update. This vlog is full of late night updates. Honestly, I want to start doing more late night updates. There's something cozy and fun about it. But this is a very good late night update. Okay, in our last update, I was telling you how I spent what had to have been like literally 8 hours today working on one chapter. Like, I wish I was exaggerating. Don't think I am. And it was all, if you saw the size of the changes that I was doing, like, that doesn't matter, because what does matter is after that, I hit a roll and I locked chapter 57, 58, 59, and 60. 58, 59, and 60 were in great shape. I was so happy. Chapter 60 was the first resolution scene, and I was like so pleased reading it over with how I felt. Like I was like, oh my God, I love this. I think it works. I think it's great. The romance had me kicking my feet. It was like very sweet. I felt like we talked about important things. I'm sure it's missing things that I just can't see at the moment, but I was so happy with it. So we've officially locked everything. I'm like literally like gonna start like shaking like a leaf. We've locked everything except for literally the last chapter now. So the last chapter, which I'm drafting, chapter 61 is the last chapter. It's a Varen's POV scene, and it is a diner conversation resolution scene that's going to set us up for what our sort of mission is going to be in book 2. And we're meeting side characters that are going to be important. Not only is it the only chapter left to draft, it is the only chapter left to edit, to touch. Can you see? Can you see? Chapter 60 green. Chapter 60 bold. In case you're wondering, here's our chapter bar. Green, bold. I also started adding to chapter 61 in the past like hour. It's like 12:17 now. So I have just kept working for the last like, I think I checked in with you like maybe 3-4 hours ago. It's definitely been a heavy writing day. Chapter 61 has about 1,000 words in it now, which is crazy. I'm happy with the structure that I'm kind of beating out for the flow of the scene, which is exciting. I think we're going to cover kind of like the main things that we need to hit on, as well as set up some fun just personalities and dynamics with these side characters, which is fun. Our current word count for the total manuscript is at 109,000. I didn't even mean to zoom in, but that's so funny. 109,965 words, which means I'm 35 words away from hitting 110K. I could very well finish this draft tonight. If I stayed up a couple more hours, I could, but I'm not going to do that because I'm going to try to actually get good sleep tonight because, as we know, I was up really late last night. 2, it would be kind of fun to finish the book with Alyssa and Andy tomorrow, and if I wait to finish it tomorrow, that can and will happen. That just sounds a little bit more fun than finishing it alone. So I'm thinking I'm going to stop here. That way I can hit the 110K mark tomorrow, finish the book tomorrow, do all of that with my friends, and not at 1 a.m, you know? Like, that's a vibe, but I don't think it's the vibe that I'm going for. It is so close that I can taste it, and I am feeling the deep sense of accomplishment and reward, finally, of like, really feeling the end of this draft. It is like so close to being done, and I am like euphoric and giddy because I am so proud of this draft. I love it. And I've never like loved a draft before. Not every single scene is created equal. You know, that would be pretty impossible. But I'm happy with every scene. I'm at a place where I'm happy with every scene, and that feels so awesome. I'm gonna get ready for bed because I need to sleep. And tomorrow morning, I'll talk to you again. Just a little message to past Brielle, who poured her blood, sweat, tears, pain, agony, effort, love, care, struggle, hard freaking work into this draft. I'm so proud of you, bestie. Slayed. And I can't wait to read it. Like, when I finish this draft, I'm going to order a Lulu printed copy, like a spiral bound printer page sized copy of this draft, which Alyssa did recently, and it seems really nice. So I wanted to try it. I just really look forward to reading this full draft, like all together in a nice form, because I've been doing a ton of rereads, but it was always like rereading and editing. It's gonna feel so nice, I think, to just like read a copy. I mean, of course things will still be sticking out to me, but to read like a nicely bound printed copy of this full third draft, like I think that will be the most book-like experience of any of the drafts that I've read, because like, in hindsight and in comparison, I feel like draft 1 and draft 2 didn't feel like books in the way that this feels like a book. Does that make any sense? Like, I think that this will like move me emotionally with the characters in a way that the previous iterations just didn't. So I'm excited for that. Hi! Happy Thursday! Last night was magical. Like, magical. These are the writing days that just make everything worth it. I was thinking about the book when I fell asleep. I was thinking about the book when I woke up. I was like daydreaming about moments between my characters. This is the level of like giddy love for the project that you like savor as a writer. There's also like this whole element of like, I had this book plotted to a T. I followed that outline very well. I mean, of course things evolved, but in general, the outline stayed true. But the feeling of the book, like especially the latter half, the relationship, it surprised me in a lot of really fun ways. Yeah, I don't have coherent thoughts, but let's just say, like, I fell asleep and woke up with this like magical feeling. I've been really anxious the past week or so, and it was so beautiful to wake up today. And like, as I was pulling myself from sleep, what was I thinking about? I wasn't having anxious thoughts. I wasn't spiraling. I was like thinking about scenes in the book. I was like just daydreaming about, it was just so sweet to have this like incredible feeling of like working on it last night, going to bed excited about it, waking up excited about it. Now here we are about to work on the last scene. Like, what a blessing. And I'm honestly really glad that I went and locked those scenes of Act 3 before writing this final scene, because I feel like it's just going to be so rewarding to like hit the end of this scene because it's like done. Like, I'm not touching any other parts of the book today unless it's like, oh, there's a line I want to add in earlier. That's different, but I'm not like going to be revising anything else today. So also, I'm sorry if you can hear the garbage trucks. They always cause a ruckus in the morning by my apartment, and it's really fun. I know we've been doing a lot of on-the-fly updates in this vlog, but those are just kind of the vibes. Like, I really just am picking up the camera as frequently as I can because I want to document these final days. I'm gonna go write with Andy and Alyssa. I already told them, like, hey, you might want to join for this session. So I've been a little ominous about it, but it's gonna be so nice to just have friends there with me for this, like, big moment. I'm not sure if it's like I'm about to finish the book in this session or if it's gonna be like 2 sessions today. I'll finish it tonight. I don't know. I'm not married to anything, but I am excited to see how it goes.
I'm an expert at overthinking things that I shouldn't. You come across as a cool guy, someone is the opposite. And all my friends are leaving, but I wanna stay here. Can we just stay here?
110, 759.
Maybe just one more drink. I can't help but think, where have you been?
Oh, and the next track, that's so We did it! We did it. We did it. I feel like it hasn't quite hit me. I definitely was feeling all the emotions last night, which makes sense because I was like working on multiple chapters last night, and today I was obviously only working on the last scene. So for me, I'm not gonna feel as much emotional impact looking at one scene as I would looking at a whole sequence of scenes, if that makes sense. But we did it! We finished the draft today. I mean, it's crazy. I feel like it's really gonna hit me when like tomorrow I don't have writing to do. You know what I mean? Like, that's, I think, when it's really gonna hit me is when I realize that I don't have a draft that I'm actively working on anymore. This rewrite has felt so integral to my life for the last, honestly, all summer and all fall. Like, I was putting in crazy hours on this book, and I know it might not seem like I went very quickly, but I was spending a lot of time on this, and it feels crazy to know that it's done. I think I talked about this earlier, but I'm really happy with the overall quality of the book. It doesn't feel like there's one section that's really weak to me. I definitely have questions about Act 3, and I'm curious to hear thoughts on it, but I'm not feeling insecure about it in the way that I was scared that I might. I'm actually really happy with where we ended up, and I had a lot of fun writing the scene today. Obviously, a lot of, the second half of Act 2 going into Act 3, there was quite a bit of emotional weight going on, and the scene that I wrote today felt like it was primarily just kind of fun. It was a bit more of a lighthearted moment, and it was kind of refreshing to write. The side characters that were introduced, I feel like they came out pretty vividly on the page, which I was really excited by. I feel like I have a very clear vision of who each of these people are and like can picture them clearly. They each have a distinct personality. The scene that I was writing, I was literally balancing 6 characters, so that was a challenge, but I'm happy with how it turned out. Let me grab my laptop so I can give you guys a final word count. Okay, final stats. So the book ended up at 110,759 words. So we did end up breaking 110K, which feels like an awesome number. 61 chapters, 399 pages. That's crazy. I already sent it to Andy and Alyssa, just the document, just because I thought it would be fun. Like as soon as I finished it, I was on FaceTime with them. They helped me celebrate, which was really sweet. I just was like, I just want to send you guys a document right now. But I am planning to do a whole extensive like proper email to each of my beta readers. I'm going to include like guiding questions and make a little questionnaire for them. I'm planning to do that and send it off tonight just because I think it would be most satisfying to just like wrap that out on the day that I finish the draft. Plus it's still kind of early. It's 6 p.m. I have a matcha. I went to get myself a little Starbucks peppermint matcha as kind of like a festive treat to celebrate finishing the draft. So I'm planning to do all that beta reading stuff tonight. I do intend to make a video talking about what I put in that email, what I included in my questionnaire, because I know that that's a topic of interest to people, is like what goes into a beta questionnaire, like what do you ask from your beta readers. So I'm gonna do like kind of a deep dive video on what exactly my beta process was with this book. So stay tuned for that. That will probably be my next video, but I'm gonna send off those emails tonight, and then I'll probably, record that video in hindsight a little bit once I've already sent it off, just because I don't want to wait to send it off till tomorrow just so I can film the video, Like I said, I don't feel like it's fully hit me, but it has been really fun to just like text all my loved ones and tell them that I finished the draft. I talked to my mom on the phone and she congratulated me, which was sweet. I feel like the overarching emotions and reactions that I feel a huge amount of relief because I really battled for this and to finish this. So I feel a huge weight off my shoulders of like, okay, I finished this massive project that I've literally been working on for months. Like, I'm someone who gets a lot of satisfaction from like finishing a project and being able to close the book on it, and it feels like I can do that now with this draft. You don't get that feeling very often writing a book because the amount of time between you actually finishing drafts is huge. So I haven't had that feeling of, I finished a step in months, like almost a year, because I think it was February that I finished draft 2, and then there was a little bit of a gap between draft 2 and draft 3. So I definitely feel a lot of relief, really proud of the work that I did and the growth that I had as a writer during this draft. Of course, I'm going to be nervous, and I'm sure the nervousness is going to ramp up as I get closer to getting the feedback actually returned to me. I think I feel excitement stronger than nerves at this stage. I've told my friends to like text me their reactions, and if they like something, tell me. That's what I'm most excited about, honestly, is to hear the moments or lines or things that they like. I know that that's a little self-indulgent, but that's the honest truth, okay? That's what I'm excited for. I hope they like some things about this one. I feel like there's more to like in this version than in past versions, in my opinion. I don't know. That's, I guess, what I'm most excited for. At this exact moment in time, the excitement is outweighing the nerves, and that's cool. And I think it's because I know that in the initial send-off, a lot of the initial things that I'll be hearing back is just the positive fun stuff, because I'm not telling my friends to text me when they discover a plot hole. I'm telling them to text me when they like something, because I don't want to like actually look at feedback until I have it all back. Like, I want to disconnect from the project for a bit. So obviously I don't want to be receiving constant messages about issues with the book, right? Not until I'm ready to confront all the feedback. Anyway, we're going to talk more about the beta reader stage in that upcoming video. So I will not go on about it too long here. I'm sure this vlog was literally a million years long. So if you made it to the end of this video, comment down below any sort of heart emoji. Send me a little bit of love. Thank you for being along for the journey of this redraft. Definitely the most challenging thing I've done as a writer, but also the most rewarding. And I can't wait to see where we go from here. It's honestly kind of crazy to think that from this moment until the end of the book, the main thing that we're going to be doing is implementing various feedback from beta readers, from an editor. I've said this before, but like the first half of this process, drafts 1 through 3, were so solo. I mean, yes, I did go to friends for help with brainstorming. I got a ton of feedback feedback on the big level plot stuff from my friend. That's what prompted this rewrite. But so much of the work was still solo. No one had seen the full scope of the project on the page. And now it's like, I'm gonna have 5, which we'll talk about why it's 5, people who have read the entire thing. So it's like from here on out, people are gonna be reading this thing. So that's just gonna be, I think, a real shift in what my writing life looks like from here on out, at least for the duration of this project, and I'm excited. So anyway, cheers to that. I'm gonna go write my emails and send this document off. Thanks for hanging out with me. Links to everything is down in the description. If you want to check out my Patreon page, come hang out over there. We do quite a bit of chatting. I would love to have you. I also do editing services. Link for that is down in the description. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.